Behind every athlete is their origin story. If you're an athlete and you're struggling to find your purpose beyond your sport, or if you want to integrate God into your life and discover purpose, if you're lost and need encouragement, then this podcast is for you.
I've been chosen. Watch me put it in motion. Got strong emotions. Manifest what I've spoken.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Keith Datu, and I have a super duper special guest with me today. And this is my lovely mother, Miss Janet Datu.
Hello.
But before we get started, I'm going to interrupt her and gotta put Anta on. These are the Kai ones. Don't forget to shop Anta Philippines when you get the chance. Now, back to you, Mother. I am so thrilled to have my mom visiting me for the very first time since I moved here in the Philippines. And it's been quite an honor. It's been a pleasure. And she leaves soon. Today is actually January 1st. Today's January 1st, the day that we are recording this. And I know to myself that I need to do a better job of posting these in a timely manner when I actually record the episodes versus when they're released. But letting you guys know that she's here visiting me for Christmas and the New Year's holiday. And then she heads out next week already.
It's been a pleasure to be here, and I love the Philippines. The people are so nice here, and I really feel good that you live here so far away, and there's good people here around you. So it's good.
That's awesome. I think my audience would love to know, the mother behind the athlete. And today I'm hoping to give some great insights on, I don't want to say about me, but just about how every athlete has their origin story. And it does give you I'm hoping to give you a little more insight of who I am through my mother and any stories and advice my mother can share with you guys today. So I'm super excited to hear what she has planned.
I don't have anything planned actually, but I'll roll with it. And I get this think of some times growing up and some things my mom said to me is like, we always turn into our parents. And I feel like maybe you're an extension of kind of like who I am, because who I am is a very eclectic person. I have a lot of different areas of, I wouldn't say talent because I don't like to think of myself that way, but I do a lot of different things, which makes up the whole well-roundedness of who I am. And I think that you have a little bit of that too. Like with music, you play your music, you're educated. I'm trying to get my MBA right now. And, you play sports. I don't play sports, but I definitely am the sports advocate for sure. And those are some of the things that make up my life. The spirituality part of it, my ladies groups, my church groups. That's kind of who I am. Additionally, I am a hospital administrative manager, and so working full time has been a huge part of who I am, as you know, because my hours just all throughout growing up, you spent time with me at the hospital, and I remember you saying to me, "Oh, it's 9 p.m. Are we going home?" I'm like, "Well, do you have your homework here? Just keep doing your homework. I just need 20 more minutes." And the 20 minutes turns into like 2 hours without even thinking about it, because there's always more and more to do. And I'm kind of that person I don't want to describe myself as being OCD, but like going above and beyond and making sure every dot is there and every T is crossed before I go home. So having you with me at the hospital assured me that I wasn't leaving you as a latchkey kid at home sometimes, that you were there and you kept that discipline of your homework. And my boss allowed it, and my boss was in love with all of my kids anyway. Just, get whatever you want, Keith. You want dinner? Go in the doctor's dining room, So you had such the privilege of being there. You also moved into being a volunteer at the hospital. So I think that serves a lot of your personality in your servitude. It's a word that I learned from one of the Catholic sisters at our hospital, and I think that you got that too from some traits that how I raised you, and that's volunteering and giving to others and thinking of other people first. So there's kind of those things.
Yeah, when I was younger, looking back, like probably not the word I should have used, but I would always think that you were like a workaholic.
Yeah.
And I remember even from being in elementary school all the way through high school, I'm like, why are you still at work?
Yeah.
And it just a big character trait that I look up to my mom is that she's an overachiever. Like she calls it OCD, but maybe it is a little bit. But everything always needs to be, doesn't necessarily need to be perfect, but it has to be ultra presentable at a very high level. And that's just how my mom holds herself. And she has that high standard of all that she does. And that's something that I really want to take away from my mom, seeing her grow up throughout the years.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And then we talk about music. I mean, you have your music too. And there was one time when I was in this local community junior college community band, Allen Hancock Band. In fact, I made a full circle and I joined them again because they were lacking in flute players. So I've been playing with them again recently.
You play the flute and piccolo,
flute
right?
And piccolo. I actually have a whole family of flutes now. So I have my piccolo, my flute, which is a C flute, and then I also now have a wooden flute, which is beautiful Powell instrument, and then I have an alto flute that looks like a candy cane, has like a little hook around it, and it has a deeper tone to it. So I've kind of graduated my flutes a little bit because of all the groups I play with. So yeah, so briefly, like I play flute and piccolo as a side hobby. I won't say I'm a professional, even though I do get paid for some of my groups and some of my performances, but like I'm playing with the San Luis Wind Orchestra, the San Luis Chamber Orchestra. I circled back to that Hancock College band that we both played in together when you were playing your saxophone, Keith.
I played the saxophone for y'all that didn't know.
Yeah, and so I really like that. And then there's a Central Coast Flute Choir that I'm with, and I have all my little groups, and the Champagne Flutes is one of my favorite groups.
You're definitely not an amateur, so I would maybe actually put you in that professional category.
Yeah, maybe slightly, yeah, but it's fun. I really appreciate playing because music has something the same way spirituality has something that's in your heart, and I always wanted my kids to play music, and it's kind of a sore subject when we talk about playing instruments, you and I, because your sisters are not musically inclined, and they nudge me on this all the time, especially your older sister Tiffany and Brittany, the next one down. And I think at the time when they were growing up, it was more about sports. Before you got into sports, and you're 9 and 11 years younger than Tiffany and Brittany respectively, I kept them in sports all the time. And so it wasn't just about school and their education, but it was also about balancing it with sports so that it would give them what you learn about being a teammate, and which I think that all athletes, learn. It's like the best part of being an athlete is working with your team and what you get from that, because you take that part into the future and how you communicate, how you have relationships. They're all geared toward working as a team. Even like say with your girlfriend, you have to. There's no I in a relationship. There's no I in team. You balance from each other, and the best way that you can have a relationship, or the best way you can communicate, when you're looking at those team aspects. So Tiffany and Brittany did sports, but they didn't do music. But when you were born, you were, at the games for Tiffany and Brittany while they did their soccer, their basketball, their volleyball, even cheerleading. They did all the sports, and you were always there for them when you were little, playing with your toys and all that and watching the teams. But then as you grew up, they were also there for you.
So you were a basketball, softball, volleyball, cheer mom, even before I got into it. So you've always been a parent, coaching kids in the athletic world. You know,
Yeah.
what can you take away, or what?
The way that I balanced, having been involved in sports as that kind of a support person, that mom, is at the time maybe you just didn't know that it was so important, because I was trying to mention how I like to keep everyone busy, because when you're busy, you're staying out of trouble.
Okay.
And you're also learning and developing and growing.
Yeah.
So, so that's really like where it started. But then it's part of who I became too. It's like that camaraderie, that that competition, learning to be a good travel mom. Like you have to be organized and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm balancing work, balancing the sports schedules, and but the girls are a little different. Like Tiffany and Brittany, well, in their own right, they're very intelligent, organized young women. But then when you see like, and most moms can identify with this, but then when you have like a son, you're like, you kind of do everything. Your rapport with your son is a little bit different, because not only you being the first boy in like 4 or 5 generations on my mom's side, everybody was like, oh, there's a boy in the family. So everybody's wanting to do things for you. So I don't know if that was part of it, but so everybody kind of gathered around and was participating in a way where you didn't have to be the one to do those kinds of things. We were all like, oh, we'll pack Keith's bag, or we'll get, so we did all that in the beginning part, but you learned how to do those on your own when you got bigger, but you started sports when you were very young.
So it sounds like I was pretty spoiled.
Well, and you think you still are a little bit spoiled, but that's how like moms are with their sons. And I think that dads are like that with their daughters. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's some kind of thing in the universe that tells us that's what we're supposed to do. I don't know. It all comes from love and the way that we raise our children.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing a little bit about me, my sisters. We have yet to actually dive into any of our content today. We both have questions written for each other that we have not seen for each other yet. So we're about to be put on the spot and excited to see what we have for each other.
Would you allow me to ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was just thinking of you, like where you are now, and you're all the way across the world to me, and where we live. But like, when did you decide that basketball was this important? Like, it wasn't just a hobby. It wasn't just the rec team that I had you in. Like, how did it click for you that you kept going and playing basketball?
Yeah, basketball this is an easy answer and a hard answer for me in a weird way. But growing up, I knew without a doubt, like, I loved it. When I was in elementary school playing at recess, like, I dreamed of being in the NBA already. It was always like, this is what I want to do. I remember those days where it's like raining and you're like, come inside. And I'm like, no, like, I'm trying to get my shots up or whatever. Like I didn't care. I loved it that much. I remember one time, I think I got detention in junior high, and you said that I couldn't play in the junior high game.
Oh, yeah.
And I threw a fit, and I'm
devastated.
like, I was like, what, 12 or something. And I thought that was like my whole life, missing a basketball game at the time. So growing up, I always realized like, this is what I want to do, no matter what. And I think growing up, sometimes you get some growing pains that you're not ready for, whether that was me actually on the court or me dealing with just life, the way life happened for us off the court. And it was, when I went to college, I was thrilled. I had a scholarship to play at Chico State, Division II. And then, I had a big moment of burnout, and it wasn't that I didn't love basketball, and I was like, I wanted to play, but it was hard for me because I'm trying to manage my workload. I don't want to be a failure. I want to graduate. I want to do something great with my life, and I'm trying to apply to go to physical therapy school in the U.S. doing that at the same time, with an intense amount of coursework, and repeat coursework actually. But it's hard when you get benched and your confidence is shaken. And I'm on the roster at Chico State for 6 years. I had 2 red shirts, and I didn't play a single full season. And the games that I did play were garbage minutes. And it was hard, and just naturally I felt like I was being forced to give it up, change directions, and which is why I went harder into school, which is why I got my master's degree, which is why I had internships and was planning to go to doctorate school eventually. Because at the time I kind of felt like that's where God was like directing me. He was like, I know you love this, but maybe this is what I have planned for you. And so I kind of leaned into that a little more. To answer your question, your original question, I always knew that basketball was going to be a huge part of my life, and it still is, even after quitting and coming back. And it's like the opposite of what I thought when I was in college, and it's like God wants me to be here, and I truly believe that in my heart. Like, no matter what happens to me, 1 or 2 knee surgeries later and a nose surgery, I'm still here and planning to play basketball as long as I can.
Yeah, it's nice how you were able to touch on the fact that you went to Chico State. When I think of you going to Chico State, I remember that there were so many schools that wanted you to go there, to their school, and play basketball. I made trips with you to colleges, to tryouts, and just, having some games with some of these teams at either D1 or D2. I think there was even a D3 team.
Not much to brag about.
Not really, but the love and the outpouring that those coaches, the teammates that they had for you, had an impact on me, because it gave me peace to know, like, okay, I won't have to worry as a single mom about like what we're gonna do about all the fees for the colleges and all that kind of stuff. And then we can group in, all the Philippine colleges that were interested in you as well. I mean, I remember a time when De La Salle brought us up here, but when we got here, it wasn't just De La Salle. It was Ateneo, all the other colleges, University of Philippines. Like, they were all like, oh, Keith Datou's here. We saw some of his reels. Let's go try to get this guy, even though De La Salle is trying to. I mean, I don't know if I can say all that, but like, it's just, from a spiritual aspect, it's really a blessing for a parent to see that, like, all your hard work has paid off, and your patience. Because if we talk about who is Keith Datou, you are extremely patient, or at least that's an attribute that God has been trying to show you for a lot of years, that you need patience. And it comes from, grinding, keeping your mind straight, or messy, really. I mean, keeping it where there's indecisiveness, or a misunderstanding, or thinking that, this is where I need to be. But then God's like, there's some lessons here for you. and he's not, a God of pain. Like, he doesn't cause you injury, to teach you a lesson. I mean, those are things that happen. But, when we look back at, where you've been, and the decision making you've had to have with, like, all the schools that were interested, or dealing with going through an injury, or even living apart from, you're like my baby. And, the third of 3. And even as a parent, we go through things too. It's like, I'm empty nested now? How did that happen? And it's like, my purpose was driving my children to succeed. And so I put you all first. Like, I didn't finish college when I, in life. And I've always had really good jobs, and I've been at my job, as of this last Thanksgiving, 28 years. Same job, same office, and all that stuff. I actually moved across the street to a different office now, but it's like I'm still within that same, drive in that same office. And I feel like when I became empty nested, I thought, wow, I got to look at you where you are trying to live independently at Chico State. And thinking, oh, did he learn all the lessons at home first about what he should and shouldn't do? Like, I went through all the mom things. And I think most parents do that. But
So I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But you're talking about all the mom things that
Yeah.
we went through. What are some of those things that you can remember, like, look like behind the scenes as my mom?
yeah, well, I mean, part of it's like what I'm saying is being, having to communicate with a kid that's, out of town, and now you're out of country. Some parents do it out of state. You're like way out of country, and we deal with, like, say, an injury, like the second injury, recently, and I can't be there. So, like, how does that, what can I do? Who do I reach out to, and what kind of support can I give you while you are dealing with another injury? Even the first injury, how far is Chico State from where we live?
It was 7-8 hours
7 8 hours.
drive. Yeah.
So I remember watching, just like I do now. I watched the games, online, and I was watching the Chico State game during the warm-ups when you were going up for a dunk, and I thought, that looked funny. What's going on there? And then come to find out that it was that injury. I jumped in my car and drove for that 7 8 hours straight, and then met you, and then made the round trip to bring you back, and then used my resources, which I think is another gift that God gives us, like me working at the hospital and the people that I know. It's like I got on the phone and I called my executive, everybody, and it was the fact that they all knew you too, which, it's so weird how it all connects. And they were like, Keith, no, okay, we'll get him surgery. So people just jumped right in to being a support for you. So it wasn't just me as a parent. It was also the people that I have resources with or relations with that were there for you.
You're flattering me, right? But honestly, that's just a testament to you, who you are, because those people are game to help me because of who you are, and not just because of your job position, but because of, like, the person you are, And I see the way that people interact with you, and when we talk on the phone being overseas, it's like, oh, so and so was asking about you, so and so, and then when I talk to people back home or wherever, they're like, oh, how's your mom doing? And so it does work both ways.
I say the same thing about my mom, because we have a thing between Grandma Carrie and myself, and people. She also volunteers in the hospital too, and she's like your number one fan, by the way. And we have pictures to prove it. We'll have to put one up. But people will ask me about her, and we have this thing between us. I'm like, okay, I put a penny in my jar. Or now it's like $1. We put $1 in the jar, $1 in the jar. So we should be millionaires when we think about, like, Grandma Carrie and how many times people ask me about her. And when they're asking me about her, they immediately turn it and they start asking me about you. So I know what you're talking about, and I think it's beautiful how we are all connected. But that's the whole support system that you actually have. And you're asking about, like, as a parent, how's your support system, or how do you support, me going through all these basketball things or life challenges, really, because basketball is not just a sport. And I thought about Tiffany and Brittany doing their sports. It's not just volleyball, which Brittany's still playing volleyball for fun, and and Tiffany was on scholarship and played volleyball at college, and then I think she played basketball too down in San Diego, but it's also like a lifestyle, because you have relationships within your team, and we talked about how there's no I in team, and you also have this way of life that's keeping you healthy and fit, and it's a way that you're able to communicate, and opens doors for other avenues. And when we talk about sports, I like to talk about spirituality, because I feel like it goes hand in hand a lot. So like God is our team captain, right? So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, you're gonna think this sounds silly because, like, you know how silly I am. We laugh all the time about different things and
About
you know,
ridiculous things.
yeah,
But-
and shows we watch and how we can quote, you know, like The Office or The Friends or whatever.
We can put Friends on and or The Office, I guess, and like we'll say the line even before.
Yeah, it's
What's
so
coming
fun.
next,
It
yeah,
just never
it's
gets old. And for me, it's on repeat all the time. But with God as our captain, our team captain, like he's calling the plays, and if we're not listening to those plays, we're gonna lose this game. And I don't want to lose this game. And I mean, is that game that we lose? Is that life? And is it like do we put ourselves in hard places and hard decision making or whatever because we weren't listening to our coach? So we gotta listen to the coach.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That was pretty fire.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm full of those. Yeah. Anyway, I try to tell Keith that like I'm the funny one in the family, but it's not about being funny. It's about like connecting all the things that are humorous in life.
She's funny sometimes.
I'm funny all the time. But
Right.
anyway, no. So anyway, I'm looking at it that way, and like that's your best support person because I look to him in ways to like how I'm supporting you. So none of this comes from me, and I try to look at the bigger picture. And I didn't always do that because for a long time I always thought, oh, I'm such a failure. You know, I think parents do that too.
I don't think that at all, by the way. I never think of my mom as you just use the word failure. I would never even consider that word in our vocabulary.
Yeah. I mean, and I wouldn't expect for you to use that either. And I shouldn't even said that because it just shows a weakness of mine because we are our worst critics and we always judge ourselves in certain ways. But I'm a proud mom. I'm a proud sports mom. And, you know, I have the shirts with the blinged out basketball to prove it. And
No, I should have brought one. Should have wore that.
I should have bought that. But regardless if you're on the court or off the court, it's what me as a parent expects of my child. And that is, how are you behaving, you know, with people and what are your relationships like? And it sounds silly to like bring those up now because you're an old man now, you know, let's call you
old.
old man.
Turning
But-
30 in 3 months, but yeah.
Yeah, we both have milestones this year. I'm
Oh,
turning
yeah.
a big number too. And
My audience would never guess.
no, we don't need to tell them either. So it's all good. It's all good. But we're like, it's like ×2, right? So, but anyway, I think it's, you know, you never stop giving advice to your kids. And to sum that up, my support comes from above. It comes from all the experiences that we have. I use all my resources, and you know, and I still will think of you as my little Kiki. You did not want to hear that name called out loud, but that's how we know him in our family.
Growing up, I was, instead of Keith, I was Kiki. And anyone who knew me growing up, or like even I'd walk around her office, even now as a 29-year-old, when I go visit, you know, like, oh, is Kiki home? I'm like, who? You know, but yeah, I went by Kiki until I was in like late elementary school, but it's cool.
Yeah. It was actually the principal of your Valley Christian Academy school who came up to me and said, you can't be putting Kiki on stuff. What's his name? Put his real name down there. And your full name, you know, Robert Keith Datu Jr. And we're like, well, we're not calling him Robert because his dad's name's Robert, you know, so, and he's not Junior and he's not, you know, so you've always been known to, you know, from school days upwards until you decided what you wanted to do. It was R. Keith Datu. I mean, it's like, go Keith, go Keith. But, you know, on the court, we were still yelling Kiki.
Yeah, you know what? That reminds me. I don't have this question written down, but I feel like you know what I'm about to ask.
No, I don't.
But you know, the difficulties of being a single mom, you know, not just sacrificing your own like extracurricular life outside of work, you know, you still didn't get to fully embrace like everything that you're doing. I would say now, like all the orchestras, the time you do playing your instrument, hanging out with your besties and doing those activities, traveling the world with her and stuff too. I think that's awesome. But I think another reason why I think you're incredible is because you did raise us as a single mother. And you had to take us to all of our sporting events, all of our music events, and those didn't even have anything to do with you and your hobbies. You just making sure that we got fed and that we grew. What were some of the big challenges, or are there any regrets or anything you want to talk about as being a single role model in my life?
Thank you. Well, I mean, I think that when you get older and to see the fruit of your labor, that is the benefit of everything that you sacrificed. And I just never stopped. It was because my focus was raising 3 kids. And I mentioned a little bit earlier that, I went back to school, or I didn't get to go to school at the time, but I recently was able to do that because I have the time now to do these things. And so I recently graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, summa cum laude. And then, and the very next day, I began a Master's in Business Administration program in Healthcare Administration, which is what I'm in right now. And I couldn't imagine that I could go back to college at this age. And I did that because you all are my inspiration. And when I started going back to school, and I'm doing this all online, because I can still work full time and I can still do my music and everything else. It's like I have like 80-hour weeks or something, but I'm driven by the ability to do that now. And I don't have any regrets because it wasn't my time then. And I try to listen to my spiritual creator, right, on like following the path that I have for my life. And once I felt like, being empty nested was hard, but then when I saw the fruit of what you all are doing now, like you're in your own life, playing basketball in a country all the way across the world here in the Philippines, and where Tiffany and Brittany, they both have, like, Tiffany has a family, and I have my granddaughter Coco, and she's 7 going on 21, so she's actually keeping me busy right now too with her dance and her voice and saying her speeches at school the way you did too. And so I have like all these little avenues, and seeing like Brittany's going to be getting married soon, so it's like all of these experiences have allowed me to have this peace that everybody is in their place. And now I'm focusing on like all the things like you mentioned. Like I do like to travel a lot. I like to go places with my bestie to concerts, and I like to have the freedom to do music and do all the fun things. So, and especially get my master's degree. And before I got on the plane, I had conversations with my career coach, and I've never had one before until I started this educational opportunity. But I think that I'm probably going to continue after I get my master's and go in a doctorate program. But it's only because it's what my desire is, and we all have our own desires. And I think when you have something that's driving you, my driving thing was the 3 of you, to see that you were all settled in your places and that you also got your masters and your minors and your bachelors and your certifications and all those things that you did. I mean, Tiffany too. I mean, she did her college, and then Brittany did her college. It's just like, I've just been so proud of all of you. I just had it was like a little bug that's been in my brain this whole time, like, well, you could do it, you have this time open. And so being able to like even fly here to be here in the Philippines and see your teammates, see what you're doing with your podcasting, seeing how you're dealing with I guess like not only building yourself up to heal and continue in your sports, but other people, because it's kind of like your niche, right? You're using all of the things that happen to you to help other people develop and grow from your experiences. And that's how other people become great too, like using your talent. So like that was such a long like explanation of just, talking about like, how did I get driven from one place to the other, and, and how have I been able to support you through this time period? Yeah.
Yeah. It is a long answer, but
Yeah.
it's funny because, well, there's quite a few things I picked up based off what you're saying. But I remember being younger when I was a kid, or even in high school, I'd always ask my mom for like, let me hear about like your origin story, and now that I've moved out, and I hate to use the term empty nested her, now it's like I'm getting so many more stories that I've been dying to hear ever since I was younger, and now I'm getting flooded with stories and just hearing her speak and from her experience, and it's awesome. You mentioned how like now is your time to go back to school, and your first story of going through college, university was interrupted because of the family that was my sister, it's having the capacity now to do all those things because you put your all into us growing up. And which leads me into my next point. I've asked when I lived with my uncle and aunt Sal and Darlene, I've asked like, how can I repay you? What can I do? Because you've made such big sacrifices for me in my life. And you actually touched upon that. You said that seeing everything come to fruition, and my aunt and uncle said the same thing to me as well. We're like, we don't want anything from you. We don't want your money. We just want to see you succeed. You don't have to pay us back. You pay us back by becoming that person that we envision you to be. The reason why we've invested so much time and put a roof over your head and made these sacrifices for you to go to your games and put you in piano lessons, even though I begged my mom to let me quit for so long. It's just, you said it best, just allow everything to come to fruition, and that is my payment, basically.
Yeah. I do have one other payment thing that you do have to give me.
Here it is.
Actually, now I think about it, there's two things. One is, because you said music and the piano lessons. One is, you got to play your piano for me. And before I even go back to the States, even on this trip, you're going to get over there on that keyboard and play for me. If I brought my flute, we could have done a duet or something. And I've always loved doing that when we were, when during COVID, when there was nothing going on, and, we were giving concerts to the family during that time, which was kind of funny. But the other part of the payment is, I need tickets to the games. So that's the best thing, like being able to go and watch you play basketball. But if it's not basketball, if you're promoting your future book, I'm always saying, write your story, son, write your story. If there's a future book out there, I need a signed copy, and I want to go on your book tour with you. So like, those are the kind of payments I want to show, what the end result of all this heartache, had been.
No, you never have to worry. You'll always be involved with all the things that I do and pursue, because you're really the big reason why I do all those things. You're the reason why I'm a basketball player, because you allowed me to have all those hours in the gym, whether you let me play for club sports or my school team. Like, you're the one taking me to practice, and signing me up for all these leagues that, I begged you to buy me an extra pair of shoes or something like that. I remember one time we had a game. We had to drive from San Luis Obispo to Oxnard. It was all the way to Oxnard. It was like a 2-hour drive or whatever. And the only reason my mom let me go is if we on the way home or on the way to the game, we stop at a piano store and I practice because I had a recital the same weekend.
Yes.
And I would not be able to play in my basketball game if we didn't spend an hour at the piano store.
That
I
is
brought
so
my
right.
sheet music and she was just letting me practice for my piano recital.
And I remember
cannot
it was
believe we did
Coach
that.
Ostrowski was your
Yeah.
coach at the time, and he was like, "What? He's got to get his game on." And I'm like, "He's not going to play unless we find a music store." And we did the research, and this is before, like, I don't think I had a cell phone back then.
No, you map quested the piano store and then map quested from the piano store to the venue.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I think we were at was it Anaheim or Oxnard?
No, it was down in Santa Barbara because that music store was in Santa Barbara on the way, and then you played in Oxnard. Yeah, I remember that. But Coach Ostrowski would remember this, and he's a lot of why you have some success. Well, most of your coaches too. If we could, talk about some of your
I
coaches.
could name so many male role models that I just leaned on. I had my mother, my
Coach Dad too. No, I'm
right.
kidding.
My mom was my mom and my dad, and I found other male role models in my life through other coaches, mentors, even my mom's boss, who was also a
Yes.
basketball coach at some
Yeah.
point in his career.
Yeah, my old boss. I'm just gonna mention him right now because he was the girls' varsity coach at St. Joe's High School, and then you end up going to St. Joe's, and and I have a feeling he was a private angel there because that school was so expensive, and I was trying to make ends meet, and it just worked out all the time, or there would be a scholarship, and I'm thinking he might have had some angel wings on that, but I remember you'd come in the office and he'd be like, Coach Keith, come in my office, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna leave now, and then you'd be in there for like half hour to an hour, and I don't know what he was doing, and mentoring you, talking to you, checking you on things, and encouraging you. And that was always a blessing to me. And some of your other coaches did that too. And I mentioned Coach Ostrowski because I remember his son was Dustin.
Yeah.
And you guys are like
Still to
brothers
this day, yeah,
now.
we're still super
You
close.
guys are really close. And I always loved, Tanya, his wife, because she was encouraging to me in ways that she probably doesn't even know that she encouraged me. Like taking care, like you'd sleep over or something, or you guys would go to the game together, and then I'd catch up after work or whatever it was. That was going on, and of course, your high school coach Tom Mott. I mean, he might have had a different path originally, coming from Mission Prep or some other colleges and some other challenges. But when he got to St. Joe's, he was the guy who I feel had like your best interest in mind. And I remember one time when you were in the locker room, you don't even know this story, but he came to me and he's like, "You good? You need anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And I go, "I'm just worried," because it was your junior year, and I said, "I'm just worried, like, is he gonna get picked up anywhere? Is he gonna get a scholarship?" He's like, "You just need to calm down. He's getting a scholarship. He's gonna have so much exposure. You don't have to worry about college expenses, books, all that stuff." And I'm like, "Well, I don't think anybody's calling right now. This is the beginning of all that." And, and after all that, I said to him that way, he just gave me like this peace about like, don't worry, he's going to be fine. And right after that, you started taking like, I put you on the train to go up to Sacramento to some of these other
Oh my
travel
gosh,
teams.
I haven't shared those stories on here yet.
Yeah.
Those are great.
And I think that started everything with people seeing you play, and then some other opportunities.
Wow, I didn't know y'all had that conversation.
I think I got a lot of secret conversations.
I see why you didn't share that with me, and it was probably a good thing you didn't share that with me because you're trying to keep my head on straight, keep working hard,
For sure.
And I would vent to you about my stress as well, on top of your stress of me going to college or getting picked up to play in school.
That was the big thing, just making sure that you were going to have. It was more about getting you a scholarship but getting the education. I'm just like, I just want him to get a free education or get a degree in whatever you were interested in, and the same with your sisters, and just being blessed that there was those opportunities, and then mostly because the coaches were loving people. We could have had a bad coach, but somehow God directed these guys in your life that were amazing coaches. I mean, even when we were making the rounds and trying to see, okay, now we're getting offers or getting interest, and we would, go to Point Loma or San Diego, all the way up, and it was like, yeah, that coach was nice and whatever, but when you made the decision to go to Chico State and we met Coach Klink, it was like people could talk any way they wanted about Chico State, because I think the school probably it used to have a little bit of a reputation, but Coach Klink really also gave me a lot of peace, because he's outstanding, and he still is, and I know he has all these TED Talks he's doing now, and I know you still are connected with all your coaches, but you got to have a good coach. And for me as a single parent, I tie that into almost a father figure in a way, and that gave me comfort knowing that you had that rapport with them. You could go to their office and talk to them if there was an issue, and you needed a guy's voice. You had that with Coach Klink for sure, with Tom Mott, with Ostrowski, so those were good things.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely let me make my own decisions. I remember you were even like, you know what, if you want to go to LaSalle in Manila, which was in my top 3 choices.
Yeah.
I'm
We
scared.
almost did that.
I'm scared for you, but we support you and we'll let you go. Obviously, I didn't make that choice. And then the other decisions, I before you met Coach Klink, you wanted me to go to Point Loma.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and beautiful campus, everything was great there as well. But I think part of the story that God has for me was for me to go there, and the things that I had to go through. Not to say I wouldn't have had knee surgery at any other school or whatever, but I just think all the things that I went through led me here. From moving the tippy top of California, moving back down to Los Angeles, and then moving overseas to the Philippines. So what a journey.
For sure.
You did remind me of those train trips, though. I do want to share those on another episode at another time.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, honestly, we haven't even read any of the questions that we've written down here. I just opened it and I'm like, we didn't ask any of these things, but we are so deep into this conversation.
Well, maybe there needs to be a part 2 from California or something, or we could always do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like what I'm doing right now is life coaching. And I feel like that's my second calling on top of being a basketball player. And it's what I want to do is, connect the world to, what I want to do is really not just share and document my story through podcasting and vlogging, whatever, but I want to help others who've gone through all the things that I have gone through, or I am going through, or recovering from injury, or some crazy mental stories that I have as well. And there's a part of me feels like there's no doubt God's calling me to do this, but sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of a weight on my shoulders to make sure that I let this come to fruition. And then you're reminding me, hearing these stories about the mentors that I've gained throughout the years. I'm like, they've been life coaching me this whole time without even me realizing
Yes.
it.
And it's part of the reason why too, I keep saying, actually I've been saying this since you were little, Keith, write your story, journal, do your journaling, and it's part of the reason why too, I even found time to be a scrapbooker when you were little. Well, not even when you were little. I have my preschool, my kindergarten, first grade, second, third grade, fourth grade. All the way up through college, and I stopped journaling a full book for each of those years on your second year of college or somewhere around there, because I'm like, okay, I've changed methods, it was more becoming a digital world, and I started like, just typing things in like an online journal or my notes or something, but, and now I just use my memory, which I should write it down so it doesn't go away. But anyway, but you have to write your story. And if you weren't doing those stories and doing, like for me, like doing the scrapbooking, remembering all the things that made you who you are, it's harder to write a book. And it's not about writing the book. It's really about doing the work that you're doing now. It's harder to connect who you were before, who you became because of all those things into your work. And I think that your path that you've chosen for this type of coaching, mentoring somebody, especially with sports injury, is so perfect, because you have these experiences that you could share with other people. And especially being able to share them in a good way, because I'm sure it's not all roses when you get injury, right? You find the anger first, and we too, as your support group, or me as a parent, like, I'm just like, why? No, I remember screaming at my TV watching this live both times, left knee, right knee, and it's, you got to take the bad things, which turns into good things in life, like the injuries, and you write them in your story, you write them in your journal, and you go back and you read it again, and you're like, I can use this to help somebody else. So if that's what you're doing with your new love to coaching other people, even when it's not even for money, because I know that you do this to give people this advice and hope and encouragement, even when you're not charging them. I think that those experiences are invaluable, and it's really led you into using everything from all those kindergarten days till now, and beyond tomorrow, beyond the painted lines, really, but really beyond what you're doing right now, because we're in the now right now. And I always think like, okay, we're doing this now, but 5 years from now, you're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, that was so primitive. I am way beyond that, now. I've really learned, and I've blossomed, and I have this big business, but stay in the now and take all the things from the past to bring it to now, and then keep going. And then when you get to the next 5 years, bring all that stuff forward and redecipher what it all means to you and what it means to some of your clients. Because it's not just helping you, and it's not just helping me, and it's not just helping our family members. Sorry about that. But it's also helping the people that are going to share in your experiences and their own, and making it make sense for the future. So.
Well, thank you. And I just feel like you're my mother, of course, and I know it's unwavering support coming from your end. But I'm just, all those words are beautiful, but I also just want to simplify it, and I feel like that's just the right thing that I feel like I need to do. I just feel like I need to do the right thing, which is what I'm doing in front of the camera right now, and so happy to have you share your stories on here as well. It's awesome.
You're welcome. I'm sorry if I'm boring your audience, but
Nah,
we'll have all the
it.
moms listening, because the experiences are probably similar to a lot of other moms who support their athletes, and maybe there's a place for them to hear this part of it too. So
Yeah, thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Getting emotional on the podcast today, guys. Such a blessing to have her here right now.
I'm the one who's blessed by being here, and we can just give each other compliments back and forth all night, because I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that I have that ability to travel and to be here for you, and I look forward to seeing where this goes for you and for your viewers too in the future. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
love you, Kiki.
I'm gonna have to make some edits. You know what? We are running a bit out of time, but let's see what other important questions that maybe one of us have written down that we are just dying to ask. You know, maybe we don't even have to ask questions about basketball. You know, I would like you to share a story appropriate to my audience, about a little bit more about you, you know, and I appreciate that it almost feels like you're kind of bragging. I don't want this to be entirely about me. But, you know, growing up, even before you had any children, you know, what were some of your dreams and how did that kind of segue and shift into you still being that same person you are now, but have accomplished so many other things as well?
I think a lot of it is a way I describe myself, and it's like eclectic. And I maybe I said that to you before, but being eclectic and having a lot of different activities made me who I was before children, after children were here, and how I'm leading my solo life, you know, of keeping busy. And I don't intend to make myself busy, but I definitely think that all the things that I did before has made me who I am, and how I use some of those attributes into my life right now. I mean, I was a good student. I was always a good student, and I did a lot of things from like, you know, ASB leadership in school to being in on stage and doing pageants back in the day, and I think that even just like the etiquette school and things that I never talked about with you, but your sisters know, and I is always about, you know, did we go to a party? Oh, let's do a handwritten thank you letter. And I think that you've gotten that attribute from me too, because I know that you are good about following up.
Your daughters always remind me
They
as well,
remind your sisters,
especially Brittany.
Yeah, Brittany is the epitome of grace, I think, in some of those ways. And well, they both are. They're gracious, and so are you. But I learned those things, you know, growing up, you know, etiquette school and all that kind of stuff. I did a lot of weird things, like a solo baton twirler, twirling fire at Rose Bowl, you know. And I was a first female drum major at my high school. Go Panthers! You know, and like we were talking about music earlier, I've always played my flute and piccolo. All throughout high school, I started playing flute when I was in the 5th grade. I also attained the height of 6'2", but in 5th grade, I was already 6 foot. And so your auntie, Bon Bon, she loves that nickname. She's 6'4", and she played basketball in
Clearly,
college.
I get my height from my mother's side.
The girls in the family.
Yeah.
And so we gave you that part to you, and whoever in my family before that gave it to us. But we were tall girls, and so being a taller person, we were always looked at. You could always see us. So my mom was always like, you know, stand up straight, you know, keep your stature in a certain way, be proud of who you are, because I was always embarrassed that I was tall at first when I was younger, but then it became an attribute later, and maybe that's why too, like she like put me in a pageant when I was younger first, and then, you know, it excelled from there. But you use all those activities to make you who you are. You know, and from athletic decathlons, and that's not saying athletic decathlon, it was academic decathlons actually. So I was doing those things, but music was really the thing that I think set me apart, because I knew that I loved it a lot, and it was an outlet for me. So when you came along and we were talking about music, and you were able to play, you know, we got you a saxophone, and we played together at that Hancock band, and then just getting you to the piano lessons, and then the torture that I feel like you went through a little bit with one of your piano teachers. I mean, she was not nice all the time, but you stuck it up, you know, and stuck with it, and was able to do some performances. In fact, I remember some of your coaches, like Ostrowski, came to your performance one time, and you were playing that "Kiss the Rain," which I feel like is your anthem now, because like when we say, "Can you play a piano?" like you always go and you play that piece. I'd like to see you play something new, so maybe you can work on something in 2026. But I remember Scott Ostrowski came to one of your performances, and I thought, your basketball coach is at your piano recital? This is cool. So that kind of married like your eclectic nature, your well-roundedness, and that was really meaningful. But because I was involved in all these different things, it took me into sharing what I knew with you guys too. So it's pretty interesting.
I think my audience hears a lot from my perspective and my experiences, and it's nice to have a different, set of eyes and experience to share as well. I want to ask you, for those athletes or anybody really who is looking to find purpose in their life or find direction, what advice would you give to them?
That's such a good question, because each person is not the same, right? It's hard in today's society to give other people advice, because we have a world of AI now, ChatGPT. Like, people are just looking at technology to find answers for things. I like to start with the Bible. The best advice is ask the Lord, go to prayer, and then share the experiences. Go to who their mentor is first to ask for those advice, ask for what they need, and that's probably the biggest thing. That would be the best way I can describe how you would honor somebody else, and it's giving them some stories about your own experiences to help tie that into what their needs are, and keeping an open mind for maybe what they need, which may not always be the same as how you did it, and then being a really good listener. So
thank you for sharing.
I answered that question.
Yeah. I think you've been answering more than just my question, and it's just so great to hear from you. Would you have any final remarks or maybe challenges to anybody listening, or advice, anything you got?
Anything I got? Well, I feel like each of us goes through something in our lives at some point. This is not like a whole bubblegum lifestyle like for anybody. Yes, I mentioned I was a single mom, and raising an athlete or raising 3 kids on my own, making them the focus of it. But when I look at what I want to share with anyone who's listening to this, it would be to put yourself in a place of gratitude. I use gratitude in my thoughts at work. I have this quote on my wall. I have things all over my office, and it doesn't look like they're sticky notes or anything, and they're actually framed, and when they're not framed, I have this great assistant, Ashley, who will print it out and laminate it, and she'll put it in my frame or something, and my office is very cute. And some of the things is looking at some of the things that are meaningful to me, which are quotes like the John Wesley quote is my favorite quote, and I try to live by that, and hopefully somebody else will find their quote or their Bible verse to live by. But the quote that means a lot to me, and I'll try to paraphrase this because I would hate to misspeak my favorite quote, but
no problem, go for it.
Okay, it's do all you can to by all the means you can, in every way you can, to all the people you can, at all the times you can, for as long as ever you can. And I feel like that's kind of how I try to think of my life at work, my life at home, when I'm performing my flute and piccolo in an orchestra, or even just meeting people, or connecting with the little ladies in my church group, and even just one of these musical artists that I follow, who has an alternate lifestyle nowadays. And it's just like, I'll write a card and I'll give him a card, at the end of his show. And I'm hoping that maybe that's encouraging to him too. So I'm always trying to be grateful for all the things in my life, but also share what makes me tick. And it all stems from kind of that verse. And then, of course, my favorite Bible verse, which is Philippians 4:13, because I couldn't have this life and these children and the struggles without giving it all to God and being appreciative of the strength that I could do all things through Him. And so that would be my thing. And since today is like January 1st, I hope, and it's New Year's.
It's 2026.
It's
crazy.
2026. I don't want to go back. And we're going to make mistakes. We're human, and none of us are perfect. No, not one, right? The Bible says that. But as we move into a new year, we think about gratitude. We think about the people that mean so much to us, and those that don't have things, and you could give them things by praying for other people and just being grateful for all the things that we have. So
Wow.
that's
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for these were some questions.
I'm so proud of you, Kiki. I really am. Thank you for having
everyone's
me here.
gonna call me Kiki now.
I hope so,
great.
but no, I'm just so happy to be here with you, and so thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been wanting to hear some of these stories, even just sitting on the couch with my mom on Christmas Day, and just the two of us, and we just wanted to. But I decided just to wait and let her open up a little more, so we can have it saved for the camera and for this podcast. So I'm very happy that we got this down and recorded an episode together finally, as we've been talking about doing for a while. But I challenge all of you guys to continue on with your faith. Be grateful for what happened last 2025, and really just embrace and be encouraged no matter what happens to you this upcoming year in 2026. And whether you feel like you have an amazing support system or not, I promise that you do. And even if I do or don't know you, my mama and I are right here supporting you through your journeys along the way,
truly.
As well. And if you guys ever feel like there's anything that you want us to talk about, most likely me, we'll have to Zoom from here on out. But I'd love for you guys to comment or shoot me a DM and just let me know how I can pray for you through your journeys. And I know the impact of having a good mentor, someone there, whether it's your mother or whether it's a coach or someone else that you meet along the way, the value that someone else can bring to your life and help you figure it out on your own. So thank you all for tuning in to another episode, a very special episode of Beyond the Painted Lines. I'm your host, Keith Datu, and this is my mother, Janet Datu. And I will see you next time.
I've been chosen. Watch me put it in motion.